Right now, we're going to go to our hotline, and Brian Windhorst of ESPN will be joining us. And right now, and Brian, hello, thank you for joining Sports Power Talk. How are you doing today?
Just fine, thank you.
We were going to ask you the burning question in all Cavalier fans' minds: what number is LeBron James going to wear?
I think actually there's another one under consideration. I think it's been out there. I think actually he's considering wearing number 32. Which he wore as a freshman in high school, I think because they just didn't have odd numbers on their jerseys. All their jerseys were even numbered for various reasons, and that was back before they had, 15 different jerseys for the 20 games of the season when he was a senior. If he is choosing between 6 and 23, I just can't see how he doesn't use 6. I think every championship of any sort he ever won, including the Olympic gold medals, was won with number 6. So to me, it would be weird to go back to 23. So I think he is considering 32, but I think he'll probably stick with 6.
We're talking to Brian Windhorst of ESPN. So, Brian, what's the latest with the Kevin Love rumors? We've been hearing Wiggins is in the deal, then we've been hearing Wiggins is not in the deal, but then Anthony Bennett's been thrown in. What's the latest on the Kevin Love rumors?
I think it's funny the way the Cavs fans, 15 days ago, they were talking themselves into the fact that they could get Gordon Hayward and he would be good alongside Waiters and Wiggins and Kyrie, and now they have LeBron James, the best player in the league, and now they're desperate to get Kevin Love. That is the way it works in the NBA. I mean, we see a quickening of acquisitions, and we see teams that are really able to sprout up quickly when they have momentum. And so obviously the Cavs want to trade for Kevin Love, and obviously everybody on their roster is available except for LeBron. They may want to position themselves differently however they want, but it's really a no-brainer when you look back at it. Kevin Love is an established top 10 player in the league. This is a team that LeBron wants to win with right now. Obviously, if you can get it done, you make the deal for Kevin Love. The thing about it is it's not just Wiggins for Love. As you mentioned, it may take Anthony Bennett or Dion Waiters. It may take another first-round pick, and that's a lot to give up for a guy who's on 1 year on his contract. And also, frankly, I don't think that the Wolves have a better offer. I think that the Wiggins being in the deal is far and away the best offer that they have. So, really, I don't think it's a matter of what the Cavs are offering. I think it's more a matter of what the Wolves are thinking. And, they have not made the playoffs since they traded Kevin Garnett. And that was generally viewed as a mistake. And they think they have a team that could be a playoff team this year with Kevin Love on it. So I think it really, viewing it through the Cavs lens is probably a little bit, not seeing the whole playing field. It's more about what the Wolves want to do.
So, Brian, I'm Matt Shisler. How likely is it that Kevin Love is willing to re-sign a long-term contract if he is traded to Cleveland? Is that a key part of the trade for the Cavs?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I were the Cavs, I would really push Love to pick up his option for next year so that at least they have him for 2 years. But to be honest with you, if I were Kevin Love's agent and I were advising him, I would tell him not to do that, and I would tell him to become a free agent next year. Because it just makes so much more sense financially to do it that way. And I think that's probably what he's going to do. I mean, he'd be under no obligation. It's not like, he's demanding a trade, but he doesn't have to do anything. And so if I were him, I would probably just become a free agent after this year and see how it goes. And so whenever you're doing that, especially if you're talking about committing the number one overall pick, maybe 2 number one overall picks, and an additional first-round pick, that's a huge gamble for the Cavs. But that's where LeBron has them put. He's got them under control because he's got them on a 1-year contract, and he can apply the pressure for them to do a deal like that, and they may have to live with the risk.
Brian, Terry Rabbits here. My question would be, let's say that the trade doesn't happen and, like you say, Kevin goes to free agency. What do you think the chances are that the Cavs would be able to sign him next year?
I would say not very good. I know that's one of the things that's been floated out there, that if he really wants to play in Cleveland, he could sign there. Well, the Cavs are not going to have cap space next year. The only way they're going to be able to manufacture adding a player is through some creative roster moves they have, such as how they've gotten Brendan Haywood, who has a $10 million non-guaranteed contract. That is a nice little trade chip, but you can't trade that for Kevin Love. Also next year, teams like the Lakers and the Knicks and the Celtics and potentially the Heat are all going to have free agent space. The Suns, maybe even the Rockets, and those are all places that are probably more attractive for Kevin Love to live. So I think counting on him in free agency is a pipe dream, beyond all pipe dreams.
We're talking to Brian Windhorst of ESPN and ESPN.com. Sartaj Aujla here, and I just wanted to know, in terms of Golden State, how serious are their interest in Kevin Love? Because right now they're the team that reportedly is who the Cavs are competing to get Kevin Love services.
Well, they can't be that serious about it, because if they were that serious about it, they'd put Klay Thompson in the deal. And I think what you're seeing here is there's a limit for Kevin Love's value. At the end of the day, he is a top 10 player. I had him on my first team All-NBA this year, so that tells you what I think about him. But the whole rest of the league looks at him as a guy who sometimes goes out for his stats a little bit more than he goes out for team play, and a guy who doesn't give any effort at the defensive end. And so teams are just not willing to give up, incredible amounts of material for him. And, if the Warriors really made him a number one priority, he would have been traded there a month ago. But they have not made him that big of a priority because they're not putting Klay Thompson in the deal. And Klay Thompson, to me, is a nice player. I'd like to have him on my team. But if you're going to be like a championship-level team, he's got to be your third-best player. Kevin Love should be your second-best player. So if they're not even willing to trade up like that, that just tells you that their viewpoint of it isn't full 100% they want it.
And also, a lot of Cleveland fans here, they're really scared about the possibility of letting go of Andrew Wiggins and getting Kevin Love. For those fans, is there any other way that the Cavs can get Kevin Love, not in free agency next year, but right now? Is there any trade possible right now?
Not right now. I mean, by the way, this is another thing that people don't understand about the machinations of this. If you were to trade, you can't trade Wiggins right now because he hasn't signed to his contract. I mean, you could trade him, but the only way you could count his $5 million deal in a trade, which you'd absolutely have to get Love, because he makes $15 million, is to have him under that contract. And you can't trade a rookie, until 30 days after you sign him. So that's the thing. The Cavs haven't even signed Wiggins yet, and there's reasons why they're not doing that have nothing to do with Kevin Love. And until they sign Wiggins, and they can count his contract in a deal, which would be 30 days from the day they sign him, they can't even make the trade. So that's just one thing I want to say. And then to answer your question, I guess theoretically they could wait Minnesota out till February, and maybe between now and February, Anthony Bennett looks fantastic. Maybe he has a real good comeback year and looks like he could be like a potential really good player. That would help. But really, I think Minnesota's drawn its line in the sand. And then if you're getting him in February, you're basically risking what you're trading for half a season. So, there's no guaranteed way. This is not a slam dunk move, no matter how you slice it.
All right, Brian, question. Mike Miller and James Jones, both key veterans that LeBron really liked while playing for the Miami Heat. How do you think they will contribute and factor into the Cleveland Cavaliers under David Blatt?
Well, Mike Miller is a terrific addition, not only because he plays on the wing where the Cavs could use an extra player, but also because he shot 45% from three-point range last year. I mean, you leave the guy open, he'll kill you. And when you have guys like Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, just made for open shots. Terrific player under pressure. And while he's had lots of injury problems, he played 82 games last year. So, I think it's an excellent signing. And I don't think it's a guy you can depend on to average 12 points a game, but he is a guy that you definitely want to have next spring when you're in the playoffs. James Jones is pretty much at the end of his career. He barely could get off the bench the last couple of years in Miami, essentially because he cannot defend me. But if you leave him wide open and you don't guard him, he'll kill you. He's probably the best standstill three-point shooter in the league. I'll put him up against anybody. I've seen this guy in practice, and he's just amazing. I think the reason you've put him on the team is to be a veteran leader and professionalism. The guy works every single day like he's a starter, even when he doesn't play for literally months on end. But I don't think you can look at him as contributing anything actually on the court during games, other than maybe a couple of times if you get lucky.
Also, just another possible rumor that has been kind of floating around the media is Ray Allen's potential of joining the Cavaliers. Do you think that's a likely possibility?
I think it's possible. I think one thing you got to realize, the Cavs have 14 guys right now on the roster, and they really need another center and another point guard. Unless you're convinced Dellavedova can be a guy you want to play in big games, which I am not. So adding Ray Allen, I think makes more sense if you make a trade that ships out Wiggins or Waiters. But definitely, if Ray Allen wants to play, the Cavs are going to sign him. Now, it would have to be for a minimum contract of $1.4 million, and I think Ray can get more than that elsewhere. I think what it really comes down to is how much Ray wants to live in Cleveland and play with LeBron. And it's powerful. They are both in China right now. I think they're both in Beijing. So I would assume that conversations about that are ongoing right now in China as we speak. And when Ray gets back, he'll make up his mind.
We're talking to Brian Windhorst. He is our guest here on Sports Power Talk today. Now, Brian, if the Kevin Love trade does not go down, do the Cavs have a plan B to try to acquire someone, not really on the level of Kevin Love, but do they have plan B of other people that they're going to try to go after?
I mean, I'm sure stuff will come up. And really, before you can really make an assessment of what you've got, I think you've got to see how your team is. So if they don't do the deal for Love, I think they bring this team to training camp and see how they play together. And then you see who becomes available. There's a handful of guys out there that are on their last year of their contract who could be available. One of them, for example, is Rajon Rondo. But, you're not going to trade for Rondo if you've got Kyrie Irving. Ideally, you want a big man. And the only other, star quality big man you really want to get your hands on would be Marcus Aldridge, who has already said he wants to re-sign in Portland. The guy that I would have loved them to figure out a way to get would have been Omer Sheik, the guy who Houston traded to New Orleans. That would have been an ideal rim defender to have on your back line, and you could get away with maybe not being strong elsewhere. And he can't do anything for you offensively. But if you've got Wiggins, Kyrie, and LeBron out there, you may be able to get by without that. So that's the guy I wish they would have gotten available. Other than that, we'll have to just see across the league and see where teams have extra players.
Brian Windhorst is our guest. Now, Brian, before we let you go, we just have one last question, and you've been probably asked this question a million times. Right now, compared to the Cavs without Love and the Cavs with Love, where do you see them finishing the season?
Yeah, I don't have them winning the East right now. I see that Vegas has them as the favorite to win the title. I think that's laughable. I think that's just a sucker bet. They could win the East. I definitely think they have the talent. And with LeBron, LeBron's won these 5 of the last 7 years. So they're definitely a contender. And we'll see how they come together and then learn to play. But Chicago is a team that is just built to compete right now. That has experience. Adding Gasol adds offense to them. They're going to get Derrick Rose back. And even if Derrick Rose is 75% of where he was a year ago, or 3 years ago. They're playing DJ Augustine and Kirk Heinrich as their point guards last year. You put Derrick Rose in there, even at reduced capacity, they're going to get way better. But to me, Chicago is the favorite in the East, not by way far, but by a nose. And so I have a lot to see about the Cavs. The other thing is, it's not just their players. Their coach has no playoff experience, and I certainly recognize that he has a lot of experience in Europe, and that'll carry over. He knows how to coach a team, but coaching in the playoffs is a completely different discipline to learn. Making adjustments within playoff series is something that takes time to figure out. And in Europe, I know he's won all these cups and all these championships and everything like that, but those are all single-game eliminations. They're all sort of like the NCAA tournament. It's not like it is here, where you have to, if you get your face beat in Game 2, you got to figure out how to come up and make an adjustment for Game 3 and 4. So until I can see how these guys all operate together, I just can't commit to them as being the favorite. Now, they get Kevin Love, they become so talented that I think that they may be able to have a much wider margin for error than they would without him. And so I may change my mind. But as of right now, I think they're a contender, and that's really all.
Okay, and thank you so much, Brian, for taking the time to interview with us today. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Take care, guys.
Okay, take care. That was Brian Windhorst of ESPN and ESPN.com.